Would it be important to you to know how to keep going when the going gets tough and when you're not seeing the results that, will tend to be discouraging? Stay tuned. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And a key thing is being able to persist even when you're not seeing the results that you want to see. It's easy to say, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. You give up, and that kills your movement, your forward movement. It's a battle for your life, your lifelong goals. It's your long-term vision versus your short-term feedback. And I want to give a shout out right now to a gentleman named Jude King, who wrote an article called How to Persist Even When You Don't See Results. So that was one of the things that inspired me. But I was on this track anyway, and it was one of the pieces that I put together, and I want to share this with you. One of the most frustrating things about goal achievement is when the short-term feedback you're getting looks nothing like the long-term vision that you aim for. For example, Eli, let's say you want to be a top-class basketball player. That can be frustrating. As your dad and as your coach a little bit in basketball, one of the things I told you right from the beginning is that if you want to be a good basketball player, you need to be able to go to your right and you need to be able to go to your left. Because if you can only go to your right, which when you're younger, you're right-handed, so you can only go to your right, then people that play defense against you are going to say, okay, I'm just going to stand over here and I'm going to block you from going to your right. As a matter of fact, for me to emphasize that point with you when we played one-on-one to get started with, when we were first working out together, I always did that. And you would get so annoyed, so frustrated that I just wouldn't let you go in that direction. And I pointed out to you, I said, Eli, if you want to be a good basketball player, you have to be able to dribble with your left hand. You have to be able to shoot layups with your left hand. You have to be able to go in both directions. And you struggled with me, you fought with me, you didn't want to do it, but then one day you apparently had an aha moment when you saw that other kids that were getting the job done basketball-wise were able to go to their left. And you said, you know what? Maybe Dad's right, I need to work on that. And I gave you some drills to do, to shoot the ball, practice shooting layups with your left hand, practice dribbling with your left hand, and focus on that. Focus on that, because if you want to be a master of the craft, you have to be able to do the basics that are going to put you in position to achieve. And finally, you started to do that. Now, what happens when you start to do that? Well, because you're right-handed, you're clumsy using your left hand. And you know what? I understood that because I had to go through exactly the same thing to become a decent basketball player. And what does it take? It just takes continual drive, continual practice, continual vision that is going to put you over the top. And you finally started to embrace that. And so when I would play with you and we'd go and you'd go with your left and you'd work, and in the beginning you weren't so good, and now you're getting better and better and better and better. And as a matter of fact, when I was going through that process, I actually went through it so much that I was actually better going to my left than going to my right. You turn a weakness into a strength. And that is a critical thing to do as a basketball player, but you can apply the same thing to any particular endeavor. If you want to be, a good piano player, all right, you start off with the drills, all right, that you have trouble, you're thinking about what you have to do. If you want to be a teacher, you start off thinking, what can I do to make this better? How can I be more creative? How can I reach the minds of the children? You go through that process and you have failures, but you're not seeing progress. And a common mistake is is that people look for motivation in the day-to-day, short-term feedback you're getting at that initial stage, rather than allowing your long-range vision to excite and propel you. The truth is, it's hard not to do that. We all want progress to be swift, and it can be irritatingly slow. You want to improve overnight, but improvement takes time and consistent application of effort. When what you see on the progress dashboard is not fast and furious, we all get discouraged. It's the reason many goals fall by the wayside. You find it really hard to see how the short-term feedback you currently have can be translated to eventual achievement of your goals. And if you can't see that, you quit. When short-term feedback is not great, you get demotivated, and that's when you say to yourself, hey, I'm just not feeling this, and you allow a cherished dream that you may have to fall away. The trick is to unhinge your motivation from the fluctuating feedback and let your long-term vision drive you forward. And there's two ways to do that. First is be clear about your why. A clear statement of your why is a necessary step when you've written down your goal. What's the purpose behind your goal? What does it matter that you achieve it? What's the why and because? What do you see yourself achieving when you're doing that? And not, these things don't always have to be super noble. I'll tell you one thing, one of the things that drove me to become a good basketball player when I was a sophomore in high school, and I just dedicated that whole summer to making the starting team when I wasn't even on the varsity the year before, was I wanted to hear my name announced. And now, at guard, starting at guard, I wanted to hear my name announced. I wanted to be someone that maybe the ladies would look at a little bit more. Hey, he's the basketball player. Now, these are not necessarily worthwhile or noble objectives, but it doesn't matter what they are. If you have that why, if you have that vision, in addition to, of course, being competitive as a basketball player, that was in there as well. But the point is, you have to understand your why, and you have to put it out there, just the same way as someone on a diet, says, I've got to lose weight. It could be because they want to be more attractive to the opposite sex. It could be because they want to be, the doctor says, hey, you can't keep doing that. You're not going to be healthy anymore. Doesn't matter what the reason is, as long as it is compelling for you. So create a detailed and compelling list of why you want to achieve that goal, and write it down. When you write something down, it gives it clarity. Clarity begets certainty. The truth is, if your goal is not backed up with strong enough whys, you're more likely to give up on it in those early days when the results don't seem to line up with that vision. And one of the things that you must realize in pursuit of your noble objective is the secret of compounding. What happens is, just as you start dribbling, and you're dribbling with your left hand, and you're awkward, you're clumsy, and you're not a better basketball player, and you start shooting layups with your left hand, and you miss and you miss and you miss, and then all of a sudden, one day, all of those skills have their own aha moment, and you have now acquired those skills. It was the little details, the unpleasant discipline of continuously dribbling with your left hand, of continuously shooting layup after layup and missing. And all of a sudden, it all came together like a puzzle. You put the pieces together. Does that make sense? So one of my main points here that I want to make is, number one, you've got to have the strong why. You've got to have the strong vision to carry you over the days when you're not making the progress that you think you should be making. It's that why, it's that vision. And you must back up that illogical thinking with logical thinking that tells you that when you compound these skills over and over and over and over, it happens all of a sudden. All of a sudden you become the better basketball player. You become the better pianist. You become the better teacher, the better coach, the better salesperson. You've put the little skills together, and then all of a sudden it all fits together and you become that person. Does that make sense? Now the next time we get together, I'm going to go over with you how super successful people compound things that seem unrelated, and it helps them to become better achievers. And until that time, because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, why don't you get out there and charge? I'm Eli's dad.